And that's exactly what Drew and I are going through at this point. I'm not going to leave him, and I don't owe anybody explanations to that. It's between him and I. Y'all are here to watch our journey, not decide our journey. Try to remember that. I mean, like, seriously, remember that. Remember y'all's place. Drew and I have not had one date since we got together. We have not been kid-free since the day we got together. He had planned to have Deshaun over at this, when we first take him for that night, maybe we can have a date. And then last minute, those people were like, yeah, never mind. Which is fine, whatever. But he was like, I don't have anywhere for my son to go. Is it okay if we still meet? Because we already kept putting it off for freaking months because we both had kids and stuff just never lined up. We aren't just gonna break up just because a whole community of people wants to see that for us. Like, there's a lot more to both of us. The autism thing for a toddler, it comes from Drew, okay? And a lot of the things that we deal with up and down are because it's not easy to emotionally figure out how to connect with somebody who has that many emotional barriers. And I'm not even trying to say that negatively because it's not something I perceive negative. That's why I am still here loving him when a lot of people would just walk away. We both became parents like immediately after being kids ourselves. And then we just got in a relationship and haven't had any time to work on each other, like work on our relationship. When we do take showers together or wait until the kids go to bed and we just have some us time, we're cracking up together. We're having good time. He is my soulmate, okay? When we had a miscarriage, and I'm gonna tell this story. When we had a miscarriage, he pulled our baby back out the toilet. He has my heart, okay? There's been many situations that we have been through together that nobody can take away from us.
Stephanie Jenkins didn't just put herself in the spotlight, she lit the whole stage on fire. What started as a long-winded Facebook rant meant to tug at people's heartstrings quickly unraveled into a public unraveling. She tried to position herself as the overwhelmed caregiver, just trying to do right by her family. But in the process, she peeled back layers she probably didn't mean to expose. And as she unraveled, she didn't just take herself down, she pulled Drew and everyone else around her into the mess. The post kicked off with Stephanie claiming she was drowning in negativity, saying the online backlash had gotten to her, and that no one seemed to understand she was just trying to be present for her child. The child she's referring to is Deshaun. The problem? She's been explicitly told to stop speaking about Deshaun and Desiree online, and yet here she is again, talking. Then came the part where she claimed she'd never try to keep a child from their mother because, in her words, she's grown babies in her own body. According to Stephanie, her only goal is to honor her child's emotions and be a supportive figure, not to interfere. But if that's the case, why did she publicly blast Deshaun's biological mother, accusing her of choosing drugs and street life over her child? Those weren't rumors. Those were Stephanie's own words, posted repeatedly, and with zero hesitation. On top of that, Stephanie made it crystal clear. Deshaun isn't going anywhere. She's referred to him as her son in multiple posts, emphasizing that bond. But if she's truly respecting his feelings, why is she the loudest voice in the room, painting herself as the savior and casting Desiree as the absentee mother? It's not just unhelpful, it's harmful. Instead of giving Deshaun space to think for himself, she's been feeding him a narrative with herself as the hero and Desiree as the villain.
Stephanie Jenkins is crashing the hell out. She sent a text to Desiree today, and I have the tea on it. Not only did she text Desiree, but she posted this long Facebook message crashing out. She told Desiree she hopes that they could co-parent and call them both mom. Like, what? Who says that as their first text message to the other parent? And y'all are not even married. You're not even a step parent. That lawyer money got her freaking shook. She told Desiree that for now, phone calls would probably be a good way to reintroduce herself. Let's listen to a part of the clip.
Pursuing a relationship with you doesn't change how I feel about that. I love that boy with my whole heart. He's great. But one mom to another, I can sense that he has questions and a desire to know you. Right now, he is fearful because it's just new to him and he doesn't want his family life to change.
And then to go on Facebook and blame everything now on Drew? She is losing control and realizes that the moms of TikTok have come together to help Desiree get an attorney. She will no longer be in full control and she does not know how to handle the situation. Let's talk about this in the comments section.
And when you tell a child the same story enough times, they start to believe it. That's not empowerment, that's influence. And when it's used like this, it crosses into emotional manipulation. Stephanie isn't gently guiding Deshaun. She's standing between him and his mother, deciding which version of the truth he gets to hear. That's not how you support a child. That's how you create emotional distance between them and the parent you're trying to erase. That's not parenting. That's alienation, plain and simple. And just when you think she might take a breath, she pivots to deflection. "I have 4 other kids to think about," she said, while wondering aloud why people were bringing Drew's drama into her space. But come on, this isn't just Drew's drama, this is her drama too. Stephanie made herself part of the conversation when she chose to repeatedly post about Deshaun like she's his sole guardian, referring to herself as his mom and claiming that he wants nothing to do with Desiree. She inserted herself into the dynamic, shaped the narrative, and now wants to step back like she's just a bystander? Nah, that ship sailed. Stick around because there's way more to uncover. And hey, if you're enjoying the tea, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. We're just getting started.
Jenkins made a post saying he wants us to blame him. He said all the hate and negativity towards Stephanie for what? He said she's been doing all she can, so if you want to hate anyone, hate me. He said hate me on my account, that's why I made it, so she wasn't bombarded with all the hate. Crazy, because she was just blaming him, saying that he checked out and that he's the reason why they don't have their cat, and saying that she's the reason why they're gonna lose their account. He's the reason why Deshaun isn't meeting with his birth mother, because he's the one who's supposed to communicate with her. See, I feel like they must have got into a fight and like he's trying to make things good with her. In the comments, everyone was saying that Stephanie wrote that. In the comments, people were saying that they're still gonna report both of their accounts. They were saying that never writes long paragraphs like that has to be Stephanie. It's just crazy because no matter what they say and do, they're just most hated. What they don't understand is that there's no point of pointing a finger at anyone. People are still gonna hate.
Oh, Stephanie Jenkins. Where do we even start? The court explicitly told her to stop posting about Deshaun and Desiree. But did that stop her? Of course not. She plowed right through that legal boundary like it was just a suggestion. Instead of stepping back, she kept churning out posts, spinning herself as the ultimate savior, the only one who cared enough to rescue this kid. But let's be real. It was never about Deshaun's well-being. It was about crafting this perfect martyr-like image for her followers to applaud. She needed that validation, that flood of comments telling her what an angel she was for stepping up when, according to her, no one else would. And then, when people started calling her out, suddenly it was all Drew's fault. She tried to shift the blame, acting like she was the one pushing for peace while he was the obstacle. But if that were true, why was she still online, making it crystal clear that Deshaun wasn't going anywhere? Why the dramatic post insisting he was staying with her, no questions asked? That's not how someone acts when they genuinely want reunification. That's how someone acts when they're desperate to keep their grip on the narrative. The hypocrisy is just too much. She claims to support Desiree reconnecting with her son, but every post, every comment, every little dig reinforces the idea that she's the real mom here. It's not about what's best for Deshaun. It's about what keeps her in the spotlight, in control. Meanwhile, the rest of us are watching the truth play out. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't line up with the story she's selling. But hey, as long as the likes keep rolling in, right?
This is a messy, resilient Jenkins update. Look at what Stephanie Jenkins just shared on Facebook. Now, I don't know if she's trying to rage bait or if she's really waking up and she wants to leave that man, but let me show you what she had to say about Drew. Stephanie shared a post and it was a man holding a baby, and it was a very deep and sentimental think piece about what a man should be to his kids. It starts off by saying everyone says that a kid needs their dad, but it's not that simple. Kids don't just need someone with the title father. They need a dad who makes them feel safe. It's not just about money. It's also about love, warmth, and emotional stability. A dad who is present, not just in the room, but in their lives. Ooh, in the motel room, spicy. Consistent, committed, and kind. A day in and day out, not only what's convenient. A dad who understands that family isn't a burden, it's a priority. That loving your child matters more than ego or emotional maturity. Because one day your child won't remember how much you earned. They'll remember how much you were there. They'll remember if you were a safe space for them or if they could count on you. And look at what Miss Steph had to say about this post. She felt that. She said, this is exactly why I be questioning
right now. My kids deserve this. A lot of people in the comments do not believe her that she's waking up or realizing what she deserves. People think that she's just sharing this type of stuff for rage bait because they say, well, obviously Drew sees what she posts. Like, do you think they're sitting up arguing in the motel room about her shares? Other people were saying, oh, she could have been talking about the girl's dad who is currently locked up. But if you pay attention, she says that's exactly why I think about this now. She said she questions it now. So it kind of makes it seem like she is talking about Drew, because why would she be talking about a man who hasn't been in their life for so many years already?
Stephanie tried to shift the blame again, this time by claiming that all the criticism aimed at her is actually just blowback from the men she's dated. According to her, she's the one stuck picking up the pieces after their bad decisions. But let's be clear, no one forced her into those relationships. She chose those men, repeatedly, and even she admits that every single one of her past relationships has been toxic. So if she's aware of the pattern, why does she keep walking the same path? Why keep letting unstable partners shape not only her personal life, but also the lives of her children? Then, almost as if on cue, the rant took another turn. Suddenly the focus was on her TikTok account. Stephanie claimed her videos were getting flagged, her engagement was tanking, and followers were blocking her left and right. That's when it all started to click. This outburst wasn't really about Deshawn. It wasn't about ownership or reflecting on her mistakes. It was about losing her grip on influence, on reach, and ultimately on income. Her brand was slipping, and she needed sympathy fast. Stephanie wasn't bearing her soul. She was doing damage control. With followers dropping off and visibility fading, she flipped the narrative to guilt-trip her audience into feeling sorry for her. She even dragged Drew into it, saying he mentally checked out of their relationship after they had a falling out. And because of that, she was left not knowing how to care for their cats. But let's be real, those cats were already suffering. Milo, one of them, was found with an untreated infection that clearly didn't develop overnight. This wasn't a sudden emergency. It was neglect that had built up over time. And let's not forget, Stephanie had options. She could have contacted a shelter. She could have accepted help from people who offered to rehome the cats. But instead of taking action, she let them sit in that condition. And now she's pointing fingers at Drew for the outcome. That's not accountability. That's shifting the blame while trying to hold on to whatever's left of her online clout.
The whole beginning of the status is talking about something that she's pretty much court ordered not to talk about, which would be Drew's son, and it sounds just like a bunch of shit. I have a very big feeling that there is a lot of substance abuse behind this post. No idea how she had the time to make this post while she's raising the Brady Bunch in one room, but she states that Drew mentally dipped out on her when they started going viral on TikTok, but sweetheart, he was never there. He even admitted that if he hadn't have dipped out mentally on me, I probably would have had the time to figure out our cats and have been less absent those 3 months. I would have the proper time on my hands to find out that the motel we ended up in allows animals and we could have had our fur baby. She also mentions that she can't have everything that she's worked so hard for be ripped away from her because people choose to see her in a certain type of light. First of all, you have worked for absolutely nothing. You post content online, which is a great source of opportunity, but you seem to not be utilizing it properly because you are still in the same position now than you were over 1 year ago. She said that another thing that bothers her is that she's very godly, she's not been going to church, and Drew is not that way. I truly think ultimately there is possibly going to be an end to this relationship very shortly, or something very dramatic is going to happen. One of them gets arrested for possibly domestic violence. When you get arrested for domestic violence, you are no longer allowed in contact with that person until the court is finished with the case, and that being said, they will have no choice to be separate, and that time will definitely determine whether or not they will stay together at all, because I truly do believe in such small environments like that, that something is going to happen, if not have already happened, and it's just never been documented with the police department. But anyways, you can look at her post on her Facebook. It is extremely long. I am not reading it word for word. Have a good day.
Oh, Stephanie Jenkins and her never-ending blame game. It's like watching someone try to put out a fire by throwing gasoline on it and then acting shocked when it spreads. Every time things start crumbling around her, she's suddenly pointing fingers at someone else. Drew, Desiree, the internet trolls, anyone but herself. But at this point, her excuses are so flimsy they're practically transparent. She'll claim she's all about peace and reunification, but then turn around and post yet another dramatic monologue that just reinforces her role as Deshawn's real mom. It's not growth. It's a last-ditch effort to keep the sympathy and the TikTok payouts rolling in. And let's talk about her sudden concern for biological family bonds. Now she's preaching about how important it is for kids to know their real parents. Really? This is the same woman who spent years dragging Desiree, calling her a junkie, an absentee, an unfit mother, but suddenly she's the one advocating for mother-son reconciliation? Please. She's not fooling anyone. This isn't about healing. It's about damage control. She knows people are catching on to her act, so she's scrambling to rewrite the script before the audience turns on her. But the real mask-off moment was that disgusting video where she let the girls in her house dance around Deshawn, mocking people who questioned Stephanie's custody situation. That wasn't just some silly TikTok trend. It was a power move.
Stephanie knows that she does not have any legal rights to Andrew's son and Desiree's son. She knows that. But she thought for some reason she could keep manipulating the situation and get Drew to speak up for her, which is the real reason why she was mad that she couldn't be at that court hearing, because she couldn't manipulate shit from the court hearing. And we all knew Andrew was never here mentally with the situation. He was never there. He was never there at all. So because you couldn't be the brains, the court hearing went how it went, as it should have. This is not your child. You're not his mother. You don't have rights to nothing. You don't have a say in shit. You don't even have the ring to have a say in anything, even if you wanted to. You still married to the last motherfucker sitting in jail for what the fuck he done did to everybody. He done did what he did it to. You worried about the wrong kid, the wrong man, and the wrong woman. Now, I also stopped talking about the resilient Jenkins and reporting on them constantly because it started to come off as gossip, and that was never my intention. I understand that the shit that Andrew and Stephanie do and continue to do is very, very, very sad. Like, there's no excuse for their behavior at all whatsoever. And I still see things circling around about their situation and what they have going on. However, I don't care to report on it anymore. Talking about Stephanie especially is very draining. Very, very draining. The energy that I get when speaking about her, very draining, very nasty, and I don't want to feel that anymore. And their situation just gets messier and messier, and I don't care. It's not that I don't care about the kids, because that's really what the reason most people were reporting this shit about was because of the kids. You get what I'm saying? Their situation and trying to get them in a better place, trying to spread the word.
It was a power move, a way to show the world that she calls the shots and anyone who disagrees gets laughed at. And the worst part? She encouraged it. She framed it as some kind of sisterly defense of their brother. But let's be honest, that was pure manipulation. A real parent, one who actually cared about stability and emotional well-being, wouldn't turn their kids into little soldiers in an online war. And then came the real confession. The moment she admitted her own kids were struggling with jealousy because Deshawn was getting attention from someone else's parent while their dad was absent. Ding, 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 there it is. The missing puzzle piece. This was never just about Deshawn. It was about Stephanie's own unresolved bitterness, her own kid's pain, and her inability to handle it like an adult. Instead of helping her children work through their feelings, she projected all that resentment onto Desiree, because if she couldn't fix her own family's broken pieces, she could at least tear down someone else's. So when Stephanie tries to play the noble martyr now, talking about how she just wants what's best for the kids, it's impossible to take her seriously. We've seen the receipts. We've heard the way she's talked about Desiree. We've watched her exploit Deshawn's story for clout, while her own household simmered with unresolved tension. This isn't about love or protection. It's about ego, control, and a desperate need to be the hero in a story she orchestrated. And the more she tries to spin it, the more obvious it becomes.
So yes, at this point, things are getting to a space where there's some justice getting very close to being served. Now, my page is not a gossip page, okay? And I'd rather not talk about specific people, but specific topics that people are dealing with or going through, or things that can be relatable to myself and my personal experiences. You understand me? So whatever you see on this page from now on, will be just that. We all know these are two people that don't want better for themselves, and now Stephanie's trying to throw Andrew under the bus after trying to protect him this whole time, which is what narcissists do. Victims of narcissists and narcissists themselves, which both of them are. So, I mean, we all knew this is what was going to happen, but Stephanie, it's too late. You should have took the initiative to change your situation instead of trying to put on a facade for everybody else, for us to believe that you're just this happy family and that you're just doing all these great things and what's in the best interest of your children. You're not. And now that courts are involved, now the police are going to be involved, now that the law is really going to be on your ass about stuff, you and him, yeah, now you want to plead fifth. I don't think so. So this is exactly why I don't care to talk about it anymore. This would literally be the last time because it's all really bullshit and it's just corny to me. So ending this video, I hope that everything works in Desiree's favor. I hope that Arlita starts getting that child support really soon. And I hope Stephanie and Drew get their karma, because yes, it's already happening, but it's something really is going to hit them. It's not going to be until Andrew has to be on his own, has to work a full-time job, and it isn't going to be until Stephanie is completely a single mother without Drew around that the karma is really going to sink in for them. We see shit playing out, but that's when it's really going to sink in for them.
Let's talk about the most damning part of all this. Stephanie didn't just control Deshaun's relationship with his mother, she punished him for it. She blocked gifts, love, and support from Desiree. Not because it was harmful, but because she couldn't handle the jealousy it stirred up in her own kids. Instead of teaching her children that life isn't always fair, that families look different, and that love isn't a zero-sum game, she deprived Deshaun to make things equal. That's not parenting. That's emotional sabotage. She didn't lift her kids up. She dragged Deshaun down to their level of lack. And she had the nerve to call it fairness? Please. That's just resentment in a cheap disguise. Then there's the never-ending deflection tour. Suddenly she's bringing up her ex-husband, the registered sex offender she chose to marry, even after her own mother paid her to file for divorce, money she somehow misused. Now she's spinning it like she was the victim, like she was just some naive woman trapped in a DV situation. But let's be real, this wasn't some tragic accident. These were choices, one after another, that she still refuses to own. And of course, we can't forget Drew, the human ping pong ball in Stephanie's blame game. 1 minute, he's a deadbeat, a failure, an ungodly mess. The next, she's suddenly his biggest advocate, diagnosing him as probably on the spectrum and claiming she understands him better than anyone. So which is it? Because this flip-flopping isn't growth, it's just another distraction tactic. Every time she gets close to admitting fault, she jerks the wheel and crashes right back into someone else's lane. For a split second, it almost seemed like she was going to take real accountability. She admitted she couldn't give her oldest daughter the life she wanted. Finally, a moment of honesty. But nope. Before anyone could even process it, she was right back to blaming Drew, blaming her exes, blaming the universe for handing her all these terrible men who just happened to drain her emotionally and financially. The common denominator? Her. But accountability is a language she refuses to speak. And then, like clockwork, she wrapped it all up in her favorite security blanket. Religion? Suddenly, she's a godly woman under attack, a misunderstood martyr whose critics are just out to destroy her motherhood.
And don't get me fucking started when it comes to Deshaun. That shit is getting me. I've done nothing but be there for that kid. He calls me mama. Who does he look for in the morning? Me. Who does he rely on for food, clothing? Me. And I make sure he has it every time before myself. Unlike you.
You have him in a 300 square foot shoebox that smells like fried catfish, shrimp, cabbage, with roaches in your dishes, spiders, bed bugs, whatever.
Try to remember that.
You think he's safer with you.
Officially 2 weeks into being homeless.
And then you purposely show his hands in this video. Sick. It's actually sick. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
Try to remember that. And honestly, it might help me because I could just use to just talk the situation off, because I gotta play medical doctor sometimes, and it terrifies me, yo. Like I said, I've seen a lot, okay?
She frames every bit of backlash as persecution, as if people reporting her exploitative content are somehow hurting her children, not the woman who's been using those kids as human shields for years. But here's the smoking gun. Before she ever posted that big dramatic Facebook rant, she'd already messaged Desiree privately. In that message, she suddenly played the role of the reasonable mediator, claiming she always wanted Deshaun to have a relationship with his mom, that it was Drew who dropped the ball, that she was never the problem. So, if that's true, why the performative public meltdown? Why not just keep working on it privately? Because this was never about fixing anything. It was about looking like she was fixing things. It was about controlling the narrative, rehabbing her image, and making sure she stayed in the spotlight, even if it meant dragging all these kids through the mud again. And that's the ugliest truth of all. Stephanie doesn't protect children. She uses them as props, as excuses, as leverage, and no amount of Bible verses or tearful rants can cover that up.
Let's talk about the resilient Jenkins and Desiree's GFM. All right, so you guys know that Desiree did reach her goal with the GFM, and you would think that people would be supportive of that, right? But no, we have two people going around saying that Desiree is not using the GFM money for what she says that she's going to use it for. Now, these are also accusations coming from people that talk down on me and a lot of other people for bringing up the resilient Jenkins and what they do. Not one time have I seen either of these people bringing awareness to the situations or trying to help or donating at that. I just find it very hypocritical to talk about me talking about the resilient Jenkins and then turning around and doing it to me. And also singling me out because I'm also not the only person talking about them. And these are also statements coming from people that have very well-known records. Anyways, y'all need to stay off Desiree's case. I think we all should stop talking about the resilient Jenkins because as you see, something is being done now. You can take one look at Desiree and can just tell that she is one of the most pure, sweet souls out there. So for anybody to be going at her is crazy and y'all need to stop.
And just like that, the mask slipped again. Stephanie ended her message with a soft suggestion that maybe Deshaun could call both women mom and that co-parenting could work. But let's be real. Co-parenting was never off the table because of Desiree. It was blocked by Stephanie and Drew. They're the ones who ignored messages, canceled visits, and took to social media to smear Desiree's name. Now that the court has stepped in and public opinion has turned, Stephanie's suddenly promoting unity? That's not a change of heart. That's a panic move. She's watching her TikTok platform fall apart. Her backup accounts are gone. Her main page is on thin ice. This sudden switch to being reasonable isn't personal growth. It's career preservation. Stephanie is testing out a softer, more sympathetic image, hoping people will forget everything that came before. But here's the thing. The internet doesn't forget. People have the receipts. They save the screenshots. They remember the videos, the comments, and the actions. Her followers are finally waking up to the manipulation. And as her online influence shrinks, so does her control over the narrative. Stephanie isn't owning up. She's adapting. She's swapping tactics, not turning a new leaf. And at this point, you have to ask yourself, is she really sorry or just sorry she's being held accountable?
Let's catch up with the Jenkins situation. If you aren't familiar, Drew's son was supposed to have a meet with his mother on Sunday. Many viewers who have been following this are extremely devastated because Stephanie and Drew did not follow through with what the court said and they did not let him go. Just as an observer, it's really sick. It's really sick and it makes you wonder why. Why wouldn't they want help? When Stephanie is constantly talking about how hard she has it and how much she does and how exhausted she is, you have all the fucking time in the world. But you also have an opportunity to work with a co-parent and alleviate at least one child from your exhaustion, and you're choosing not to. Why? And I really do want to hear what you guys think. Why do you think it is? Do you think it comes down to benefits, that they're afraid to lose the benefits? Do you think it's what we talked about last time, which is they are afraid of him spilling the beans of what is actually happening behind closed doors? These closed doors that somehow end up with new scratches and new holes in the doors all the time? But I digress. Let's continue talking about my opinions on Drew and one of his latest videos. So Drew starts his most recent video with saying he's going to clean because Stephanie took the kids out to the splash pad. And I'm thinking he's there alone because he pulls out these headphones and he's getting ready to put them on so he can go into clean mode. And then I see this little guy. You're putting headphones on while your 2-year-old is in the motel with you. Truly, you can't communicate with your child during this time. The only time he has alone, weird, and I'm judging. But let's move on to this, and this is equally strange. Stephanie's been talking a lot about how Drew is doing these gigs, so let's read this together. It says, I explained this in my last vlog video, but in case it's confusing some, when Drew does gig work, like what the fuck is gig work? What do you, W-2s, gig work? What is it? Somebody tell me. I'm dumb, I guess, because I don't speak this. I don't speak this language. What is gig work? Is it like cash pay so he doesn't have to pay child support? Okay. When Drew does gig work, during the summer, the kids like to stay up late to eat with him when he gets back. I'm sure. The kids and I will eat between 5 and 6, and then we will eat again as a family when Drew gets back from his evening shift. Last night, our second dinner was fried shrimp, corn on the cob, biscuits, and fruit. Before bed. Okay. We had that as a family around 9 p.m. while we watched The Mask. Also, the kids and I had a water balloon fight. It was all too quick for how long it took to fill them. But we had fun. What I will say to this is, you guys are doing an awful lot. Where was all this before? Also, why, as a father, would you want your children to hold off and eat dinner with you as a family? Where the fuck are you all eating together? Truly, you guys are surrounding each other's beds? She mentions in one of her videos that they have to shake the beds off every day. Well, no kidding, it's your freaking dining room table. The more content they put out, the weirder and weirder it gets, at least in my opinion.
Let me know in the comments. Do you think this is genuine growth or just another performance? If you've been keeping up with this saga, thank you for watching and sticking through all the twists. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next, because this story is far from over. And if you're new here, check out the other videos on the channel for more deep dives like this one. We've got a lot to talk about.